It's an issue which took place in my hometown, Belfast, in Northern Ireland. Some people dressed like those of KKK and demonstrated outside the Islamic Center. And I saw the video clip on BBC and also listened to what the Imam had to say. Anwar, Mr. Anwar. I know Mr. Anwar personally. So I heard what he had to say. He didn't take it as a prank, a Halloween prank. So he was quite disturbed. And I don't agree with such pranks. Even if it was a prank, I don't agree with such prank. And obviously, there's no reason why I should like KKK. So I don't agree with KKK. There's no reason to love them. There's no reason to support them. And I don't like this sort of pranks, even if it was a prank. Now, coming back to the issue of Islam, what's my position? My position is as usual. Islam is a death cult. Now, if BBC is shocked by the fact that some people dressed up in KKK and went outside and sort of demonstrated probably outside the Islamic Center. But Mr. Anwar himself, in his own words to me personally, he said he was a member of the Islamic Forum. Islamic Forum is to my understanding, it's an organization which was inspired more or less with the ideology of Jamaat-e-Islami and Muslim Brotherhood. And Jamaat-e-Islami and Muslim Brotherhood, both of these organizations or groups of political movement or social group, whatever you want to call them, they were all inspired by Jamaat-e-Islami and Sayyid Qutb's Muslim Brotherhood, this IFE, and Islamic Forum of Europe, like many other organizations in the UK, all were the brainchild of people who were inspired by Maududi. Maududi is the man who also inspired many Islamic terrorist organizations in the world, including the Islamic State movement that we see and also the Al-Qaeda and all. They were all more or less inspired by Maududi's writings. And I'm shocked to hear that there are people who are going there to this mosque who are in fact supporters of Islam or members of Islamic Forum or Jamaat-e-Islami. There's no reason why I should not consider Jamaat-e-Islami to be an extremist group. There's no reason why not. Because, as I said, from the writings of Maududi, it's very clear that he was the man who was rewarded by Saudi Arabia the King Faisal Award for his views regarding Islamic State. And if you read Maulana Maududi's letter of acceptance when he received on his behalf, his son probably received, as far as I recall, the award from the Saudi government, the King Faisal Award, he categorically suggested the eventual founding of an Islamic caliphate or Islamic state. So I'm not very happy with the fact that Islamic people who are mostly, I want to believe, peace-loving, but unfortunately most of them also remain silent when it comes to condemning terrorism, extremism and all. So I am concerned that there are people who are going to that mosque who consider themselves members of the Jamaat-e-Islami or Islamic Forum. And I have no reasons to be happy about it, especially in a situation where I'm worried for my life. I'm worried for the lives of my near and dear ones. And for the fact that Islam as a whole is a death cult. There is no reason why I should think otherwise. Now, if you are concerned about watching someone wearing a KKK dress, I should say, I personally also get worried if someone knocks on my door with an Islamic clothing. Still, I will say, most of the Muslims are peace-loving, although most of them appear to be wearing hijab, niqab, all the Islamic clothing, but deep down they have no knowledge of Islam. That's a good thing, I would say. That's a good thing, and that's in fact keeping them away from Islam, and they're engaging their own own concocted version of Islam, which is mostly peaceful. So still, I would be worried. I would be worried if I see someone knocking on my door, especially when Muhammad ordered that someone like me, an apostate, should be killed. Very clearly, in Bukhari Hadith is very clearly that I should be simply killed for living Islam and speaking out against it. And this is also in Quran, Surah 3, verse 90 and onwards. And I debated about this issue with Dr. Umar al-Qadri, the man who rejoiced when Senator Connor converted to Islam. So I had a debate with that scholar, Dr. Umar al-Qadri, on the issue of apostasy and Islam. So I think I proved it very clearly that in Islam, apostates are to be killed. So I know that Islam is a religion, which claims to be a religion, is in fact a tribal cult. And why shouldn't the people of the West not be concerned with the rise of Islam? Why shouldn't the people of the West not try to save lovely Muslims from the peace-loving Muslims from this tribal cult? Why not? Well, I was shocked a couple of days ago when the European court, in fact, upheld the Austrian court's decision when it fined or brought charges against an Austrian woman who called Muhammad, his act to be pedophilia. Well, Muhammad was a pedophile. And I think that Austrian lady was unlucky not to have the well-informed scholar, Islamic scholar, on her side. If I was there to back her up with Islamic theological argument, I believe that the scenario would have been otherwise, because the European court, in fact, said in one of its opinions that Sharia was not compatible with the human rights and other norms of morality of the West or of Europe. So I was shocked. I was pleasantly shocked that European court tried to restrain or somehow put a restraint on the people's mouths that we cannot call a pedophile, when Muhammad, in fact, encouraged his followers to marry young girls so that they could play with him. And Muhammad used to play with his child bride when she was 9 years old. And Muhammad also was the man who wanted to divorce his wife, who was much younger than him, but still he considered her to be old. And he wanted to divorce her. I'm talking about Sauda. So I could have fought all that. So I was shocked. So European court sees that Muhammad was not the man who was pedophile, but the European court and the British media, they don't see what Islam did to people like me. For example, they don't see that I could not even see my own son when I was going under the knife. And when my chest was opened and the surgeon had to cut my chest open, my estranged ex-wife didn't even allow my son to come and see me. And as a matter of coincidence, that very day was also my son's birthday. So I wonder if the British legal system and if the European legal system or the British media are so blind that they don't see this. So British media don't see that we ex-Muslims are ostracized, and whenever we go to Bangladeshi shops, even in Belfast, or even if we go to Muslim shops, we are hurled with abuses. We are ostracized by the minority the British government protects so dearly. And they don't want to protect the minority within the minority. That's us. So we are being victimized. We are being ostracized by the minority, the Muslims. We are being ostracized. We are being harassed, abused by the second, just for simply living that cult and criticizing it. So the British media were all mad that, oh my God, KKK people demonstrated outside Islamic Center. And they even interviewed the Mr. Anwar, the Imam there. But they won't ever interview people like me and thousands of ex-Muslims like me, even here in the UK, when we are bullied, we are harassed, we are ostracized, we lose our family, we lose everything, we lose our profession, we lose everything. So the media is blinded about this for whatever reason. So I would say, as I said at the beginning of this video, I was shocked, or say I was not happy. I didn't find that prank to be serving any purpose, and that was a bad choice if it was a prank. But at the same time, I would say that Islam deserves no respect. Muslims deserve love, and I love them. That's why I'm taking a huge risk on my life, facing death threats and harassments by the minute. But still, I'm taking a huge risk on my life because I love them. They are my family, and I want to free them from this tribal death cult. So don't forget that when a Muslim woman wears a hijab, she should not be abused. She should not be harassed because she is inside a beautiful woman. And at the same time, she is someone probably who is chained by Islam, who was forced or brainwashed or somehow mistaught that Islam protects women. It does not. It does not. So whenever I see a woman wearing a hijab, I get worried for her. I get worried for myself because I get worried for her because she might be a lovely woman, peaceful woman who never raised her hand against anyone, who didn't use abuses against anyone, but probably she was brainwashed into this cult of, she thinking that Muhammad was a great guy who is to respect women, which is in fact the totally opposite. And I worry sometimes for me because in many of the cases, there are extremist Muslims who are wearing Islamic clothing, and they want to do away with my head. And their numbers are not fringe few. Their numbers are not fringe few. If you think the numbers are fringe few, then read the comments on this video. Go ahead, read the comments. And if you don't understand the language, copy paste it and Google translate them from Bengali to English, and you will find out what they're saying. They're throwing abuses, hate by the second. So I get worried on the other hand as well if I see in my neighborhood a Muslim family moving in. Probably they're lovely people, they're nice people, but I have reasons to worry as well. So what about my worry? If you're worried about KKK or look-alike or dress-alike people demonstrating outside the Islamic Center in Belfast, what about someone else living in Belfast as well in hiding? What about me? What about my worries? What about my worries? If I see really devout Muslims wearing a long beard and all that, I would love to believe that most of the cases, they're lovely people, but I also have reasons to worry for my life. Because in many of the cases, they want to kill me. They want to harass me. They will abuse me. But 99% of the Muslims, they get angry, upset, annoyed when they come across an ex-Muslim. Just the ex-Muslim's appearance, if he's known to be an ex-Muslim, just his appearances most of the times make them upset. So if someone like me who is outspoken about that religion, in most of the cases, if I go to any Muslim gatherings or even walk outside the Islamic Center, I will hear abuses. And that's the challenge. I will hear abuses. So what about my concern then? What about the fact that I am not free to move about even in Northern Ireland or even in the UK anymore? What about my concerns then? What about my concerns? So, well, tough. But I'm sorry. I'm so worried about my situation that having some people demonstrating outside KKK is a peanut to me, to my situation. It's a peanut. Thank you.